this tutorial, we go over how to turn this boring ass tripod footage into something energetic like this. YEAT becoming more popular, there's a lot of artists trying to match his energy and his beat selection, and it's not the easiest thing to match a music video with that high energy of a song. And if you don't know how to layer effects properly, you're gonna have your music video looking a little wonky. And the nice thing is you don't even really have to shoot with that much energy. A lot of these shots can be done with handheld shots or tripod shots. Actually, a big majority of the tutorial we're gonna be going over today is actually shot on this tripod right back here. So first off, I wanna show you how to create a kind of a still shot like this. It's just a little bit of handheld movement, kind of zooming in a little bit. And if we added some effects on, you can see how we can get this high energy effect just kind of like that. YEAT's whole style with Nirvana and Mosh Pit are a bunch of zooms, blurs, shakes, and speed ramping, and that's pretty much all it comes down to, layering it and stacking it in a way that actually looks good. You can see I actually did this effect with Boris Continuum and Boris Sapphire. It's a plugin that's like 800 bucks. In this tutorial, I'm not going to be going over how to use Boris Continuum and Sapphire to make this effect because I figured a lot of you guys don't actually have this plugin. Honestly, if you already have it, you probably know how to use stuff like camera shakes, spiral blur, radial blur. I'm going to be going through and showing you how to do everything native in After Effects and Premiere Pro. I did go ahead and make an energy pack to kind of help you make that process a little bit faster and easier. It's available on my website, bryandelimata.com. I'll have it linked down below. It's going to be the cheapest it's ever going to be, and it's also going to have lifetime updates because I plan on adding more effects and just kind of upgrading stuff that's already in the pack. So if you do want to go ahead and purchase right now, it's only going to get more expensive when I go ahead and update it, and you're going to get lifetime updates. So now is a great time. It's basically just a bunch of presets that already have some pre-built aspects that you can layer and add onto each other just to make that workflow a little bit more efficient. But we're going to be going through and showing you how to do it anyways. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. And then I also want to show you guys how I was able to record on that tripod right there and make something like this. So real quick, if you did follow along and you got the preset, go up here to presets, right click, import presets, and then navigate to wherever your downloads is, wherever you downloaded it, and then just import that file. And then also do the same thing for After Effects. All you have to do is go to your documents, Adobe, After Effects, whatever year you have, and then user presets, and then just drag that folder, the energy pack in there, and then all the effects will show up in After Effects as well. So my workflow starts off by finding a clip and then adding some markers where the beat, like the snare hits, the kick hits, the 808 hits, and you want to feel it with the beat. With a high energy song, it's really important to match effects to the beat and have the effects on time. That way you can kind of feel it in the edit. It's really going to take the energy and just match it perfectly. So I went through and you can see I added 4 markers here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is right click and replace with After Effects composition. And it's going to open it up in After Effects. Now, whatever you do in After Effects here is now going to show up in Premiere Pro real time. So if you switch back into Premiere Pro, whatever you just did is going to show up on Premiere Pro. It's a really efficient workflow. I think it's perfect for this style editing. So then splitting the clip on the markers by just holding Control-Shift-D. I'm going to split the clip into now 5 different clips. And just like that, now we have the clip primed and ready to have these effects take place on them. So this was a pretty simple effect. All I want to really go through is add some zoom, some shake, and then just a few blurs on the hits of the song. So first off, I just want to add some on-hit effects. In the pack, it's going to be under the on-hit folder. And you can see there's horizontal quick hit, spiral, vertical quick hit, and zoom. I think these are pretty much the essentials when it comes to adding the energy with blur. For the beginning, let's go ahead and bring our cursor all the way to the beginning because wherever we have that cursor on is where the keyframes are going to start. So you want to drag that on, and let's go zoom hit hard. See, it added on some radial blur. It already has some keyframes on. They're nice and easy ease. And the only thing I'm going to do is click the center crosshair. So it kind of has that focus area. If you're doing it yourself without the pack, just be sure to add keyframes and make it look like whatever you want. I went through and added a bunch of different effects that I think look good by default. So I'm not going to go through and keyframe or change anything. You can see we have a zoom hit hard and a light. The light version is just a little bit less zoom. Since it's the beginning, I kind of want a little bit more energy there. And you can see it's something really subtle just like that. And these little things might not look like much right now, but when you combine them all together, it's really going to take that and add that energy to your music video. I'm just going to go ahead and add on these on hit effects certain areas. Let's go ahead and do the spiral hit hard here. And then again, I'm just going to go through the center and add the spot of focus that I want. We could do YEAT. And then let's do spiral hit light. It's a little bit lighter version. Drag that there. Radial blur with some keyframes to make it hit properly. And then let's do one last one, maybe vertical. Then we can do zoom light at the end. Now, if we go through, you can see the effects run through. It doesn't look exactly like how we want right now. So we'll keep it simple here with none of the effects that I added on in the pack for this effect. We'll do that with a tripod shot. I'm going to go back and add the shakes and zooms in Premiere Pro. But if you were wondering, I did include them in the After Effects pack as well. So if you edit only in After Effects, you don't really need the Premiere stuff. But if you have Premiere Pro, probably going to want to use the After Effects effects because a lot of the stuff you just cannot do in Premiere Pro. If we go ahead and click Control S or save our After Effects project file, then once we go back into Premiere Pro, you're going to see we have the exact effects sequence that we had in After Effects, but now we're just in Premiere Pro, which is really nice. So now what we're really missing is that shake. I have 2 shake presets in Premiere Pro and 3 in After Effects. I basically just keyframe transform with some shutter angle just to give it that blur and shake effect. One's a little bit more intense than the other. I'm gonna drag on Twizzy Shake. And now if we render that out, you can see we got that shake. Starting to have that energy. Let's go ahead. We wanted to have it kind of zoom in to the right and then pan to the left and change colors. So let's go ahead and use the crash zoom right. The 1 in the pack is always going to be the zoom in and the 2 is going to be the zoom out. You can use it either way. You don't have to start with 1, but I wanted to zoom in and zoom into the right. And now we can see what that looks like. You can see the match with all the effects. It's really starting to have that energy. So now I just want to add that whip to the left to kind of have a little bit more energy in it and then change the color as well. So to do that, I'm just going to drag on the camera movement preset. It's pretty much just transform with my shutter angle cranked up, but I just have it that way so you don't have to go through and change it every single time you add it on. I tried to make this pack just save you as much time as possible, to be honest. Just make the workflow a little bit easier. So then I'm going to keyframe the position right where I want it to hit. You can see there's a little bit of a beat hit here. So let's go through and go like 2 frames before it. Drag that keyframe at default position right where it's at. And then let's go 1, 2, 3. And then we can whip it to the side a little bit. And you can see how it matches that hi-hat and just whips over to the side. And then let's just change the color. I do have a looping preset in After Effects to kind of have it continuously loop. But for this, I think color balance HSL by itself is going to be perfect in Premiere Pro. And when you drag it on, and if you do see it kind of mess up the position of your camera, just drag it all the way to the beginning. Sometimes when you drag an effect on Premiere Pro, it will mess with the transform options and stuff. So just keep that in mind. If you do ever see it kind of ruin your camera movement, just drag whatever effect you added on all the way to the top of the sequence. You can see here, we brought the color balance all the way to the top. And then let's keyframe the hue and then go 3 frames to the right and then just keyframe it to whatever color we want. We can do that nice green. And now when we render that out, and let's go ahead and just compare it just to see what we kind of came up with all native stuff. So this is going to be the plugin version, the Continuum, that's $800. I mean, yeah, it looks pretty similar from what I'm seeing. I didn't do the exact effects in the exact same spot, but you can see how you can create something very similar, just like that, all native within Premiere Pro and After Effects. I think with the native, it's just a little bit extra of a step because you have to go into After Effects, whereas with Sapphire and Boris, you can do it all in Premiere Pro, which I like. It's a little convenience. To be honest, it might not outweigh the price point. So just keep that in mind. If you already do have Boris or you already do have Sapphire, some effects that I use to get really similar stuff to what I just showed you, BCC plus camera shake, spiral blur, radial blur, and then I like using Sapphire shake, Sapphire, glow, rays, all that stuff to kind of add energy. So if you do have those plugins, feel free to use them. It's going to work pretty much exactly the same. So then you can do it that way and you can just stay in Premiere Pro. So now for the fun part, just being a little bit more creative with the effects, customizing it a little bit more. But this is something you can get if you just shoot on a tripod trying to add energy into your music video. I'll show you the raw footage just so you can see how much energy this actually lacks, and you can see what the original clips look like so you can kind of plan to shoot like this as well. You can see it's a little cringy, just me dancing around in my room. Had to dap up my Twizzy or myself here. Just threw some lyrical lemonade pillows and then, yeah, did the flip. What I would do is if I was shooting a music video, I'd actually have the artist perform each take in different locations where the song starts from the same spot. So you can see like right here, I would have the artist perform, start at the beginning of the music video, and then I'd have him do the same exact take, start from the beginning of the song at this part, and then a bunch of different parts. That way you can sync it up way easier. I went ahead and actually just used a beat from my friend Quinton. He makes a bunch of beats and vocal presets. So if you actually wanted to sound like YEAT, you go check out his channel. You can see here, I kind of just tried to sync the movements and stuff with the beat a little bit. It's a little hard because obviously I wasn't actually listening to this audio. And then the next step is obviously adding those markers in, just the different spots where the bell hits, where the 808 hits, where the kick hits, where the snare hits, even sometimes some hi-hats. It's kind of just important to match the energy. The more points you have, the higher the energy is going to be, just because there's going to be more effects there. So I went ahead and added a decent amount. You can see here, I just matched to the beat. And before we go too far in, I just want to drag on that Twizzy Vision, that unreleased LUT pack. You guys can't get it yet, just to make that footage go from super flat S-Log 2 to this beautiful whatever. Really enhances that sun flare there. So then the next step is to highlight everything. I'm actually going to add the audio in this time. So if you highlight the audio and all of the clips, right click and replace to After Effects, it's going to bring in the audio as well as all the clips. And we're going to name this Libra. Now I'm going to go through and match some blurs and some effects to the beat. At the beginning, it starts with a bell. And for the bell, let's go ahead and do some on hit. Let's do that spiral hit and just drag that on. You can focus it wherever. Let's do like my hands. I like adding that center point just to wherever you really want the focus to, because it's going to instantly draw the viewer's eye there. There is another bell hit. That is another thing that's going to help out, is consistency with the sound and the effect. So as you noticed, I added the spiral to the bell. So I went ahead and did it to the bell again, the same spiral effect. That way the viewer can kind of just associate the effect with the sound. It's not really necessary, but it's just something I like to do to kind of add a little bit of consistency, and I think it just looks better. You can obviously add on other effects over the same sound. I wouldn't recommend doing it every single time there's a bell, that exact effect, but if you do have a little bit of consistency, it helps out a little bit. And then let's this time show my eyes here. And then there's another bell, so let's go ahead and do that spiral yet again. And then I'm going to split the clips here on each marker because there's just beat hits and it wasn't actually split. And you can hear that little open hat hitting. So let's do something really, really slight, like a horizontal hit. And then that bell again. So let's do that spiral hit. I'm going to focus on the hands because I plan on adding a lot of movement into that with the zooms and everything. And let's go ahead and do a zoom and focus on... Let's focus on the phase bear here. Just something a little bit different, just because it's bringing the viewer's eyes from like the foreground to the background. So that zoom kind of makes sense. I just like doing effects that kind of make sense in the edit itself. That way it just helps out a little bit. Actually, I just went ahead and changed the position right around my neck. I just think it looks a little bit better. Before I split anything, let's go ahead and add on some effects. So let's add something, because this is just a long clip and it doesn't have much energy. You can see I'm just kind of like looking around. Let's go ahead and add something that's going to make it look like there's a little bit more energy. So again, going to the beginning of the clip, because wherever you drag on these effects is where the effect's going to start. I made some After Effects expressions. That way it lasts through the entirety of the clip, but it doesn't start until wherever you add it. So you can see here, if I wanted the hue strobe, if I go ahead and drag it on right here, it's not going to hue strobe at all at the beginning, but then it's going to go until the end of the clip, starting from wherever I had the cursor at. So just keep that in mind with all the effects. That's the way I designed them. Again, I just tried to make it as easy and simple as possible. So if you wanted the effect to start halfway through and just loop throughout the whole entire clip, just drag the cursor halfway through, drag the effect on. But if you wanted it to start at the beginning, go ahead to the beginning and then drag it on. And let's go ahead and do spiral energy. Spiral energy is kind of tweak back and forth like this throughout the whole time. And one thing that I kind of designed it for, if you keyframe the center point, so I'm going to go ahead and keyframe the center point and then go 10 frames forward. I'm going to keyframe it to the exact same spot and then skip one frame and then change the focus right to the face bear. So you can see this is going to add a little bit of energy with that zoom, and then it's going to change right there. And you can do that on the beat hits as well. So let's go ahead and keyframe that same spot right before that keyframe here. And then let's go ahead and change it. And since I'm looking down at my arm, maybe we can do, and then go 10 frames forward, keyframe same spot down. And this time I'm kind of like looking down at my feet. So I could even just get you guys a 4K foot pic here.
Yep.
And then let's go all the way right before the end and change one last time and keyframe. Do think the foot one's actually a little weird. So let's go ahead and just add it down here. And then we can just replace this keyframe. And then obviously with the shake and the zooms, it's really going to sell that effect. A lot of these things do look weird before the shake and before the zoom. And I think that's why people have a hard time layering it, is because they don't understand that they need those like baseline effects before the shake and before the zoom to really enhance the shake and the zoom. So if we play that from the beginning so far. This is hard because I didn't sync me throwing the pillows to anything. So it's kind of just like, doesn't make sense. But one of the effects I actually made in the pack is called laggy energy. It kind of just stutters between a bunch of different frame rates. So it's kind of going to help fill out the effect and kind of make it feel like it's a little bit more synced just because it's glitching all over. You can see how that kind of just helps a little bit. I just think when there's like a lot of high energy, like the 808 hitting 3 times and the bell going, it's hard to sometimes match the effects if you don't have like good markers or whatever. So this is like kind of like a good effect to go ahead and add on to make it fit the vibe a little bit more. And then again, this is an expression, just changing the frame rate a bunch of different times. That way it just adds a little bit of lagginess to it. And let's go ahead and use that hue strobe as well. I did it in the example. I just think it fits here perfectly. You can see it's just gonna cycle through the hues over and over again, no matter how long the clip is. The clip could be 10 minutes. It'll do that the whole entire time. Let's go ahead and add some kind of glow. There's like glow energies. Works pretty good. I'm gonna put the center on my head. It's just like those little effects that kind of help add just a little bit more energy each single time. You can see just like the rays coming off the hat. You could do this if you have Sapphire or Continuum with like Sapphire rays, or I think it's BCC rays with Forest Continuum. This is just a similar effect you can do native. Maybe just one last thing. Let's do like Zoom Energy, and we could keyframe the center. Let's go ahead and do the head. That's just gonna like have a little bit of radial blur, zoom in and out just on repeat. And I think that helps out a lot. And then let's go ahead and cut it here. We hear that bell again. So like I said, I'm gonna keep consistency with that spiral hit hard. And then lastly for this clip, let's go ahead and add something like blurry ghost on. It's gonna make your subject or whatever is really moving in your clip just a little bit more blurry. It's gonna add like that motion feel to it. And let's go ahead and add a zoom hit hard here. And then I'm gonna split the clip here because there's a bell, and I'm gonna split here as well and just add like a horizontal quick hit. And then lastly, just one right here, really quick. Let's just do vertical just to even it out. So now let's go ahead and check what we have. I think that looks really good. When we add the zoom and shake, it's gonna just solidify the whole effect. To do that, if you wanna do it in After Effects, what I'd recommend is just highlighting all the clips, going to pre-compose, adjust duration to the span of the selected layers, and you don't even really have to open a new composition. And then if you go to effects, you can add the different shake, or you could go back into Premiere Pro and do it. It's the exact same thing pretty much. There's just one extra shake preset in After Effects for the pack. But like I said, if you have Sapphire, you can use Sapphire Shake or BCC Camera Shake. They're both pretty good. I just made some presets for native if you don't have those. I think they're relatively the same. You can't really tell the difference between Sapphire, BCC, or the preset. And then I'm gonna go through and then split the clips where they were split before. Then let's go ahead and add some of those zooms. So I'm gonna add crash zoom up. It's just zooming up at me. And then we can add crash zoom 2 onto the second clip, and it just does the exact opposite. So it kind of zooms in and zooms out on the cut. And then let's go ahead and do zoom down. And the nice thing is, if it's not like exactly where you want to zoom, say maybe I'm like in focus over here, you go to the keyframes and go to the position and just fix it to wherever you think looks best. Say you wanted to zoom down a little bit, just match on this keyframe here. I just kind of made general directions that way, if it's like in the top right, you can add the top one on and move it to the right just a little bit. And then for this one, I actually want to track the movement of my fingers just to add a little bit more movement. I'm going to go through and add the camera movement preset on. Let's go to the beginning, go where we want it to start, maybe like right here. Let's go ahead and keyframe the position and the scale right there. And then I'm just going to go to the movement. I'm not going to really count out frames. So right there where like the fingers connect, I want it to zoom in a little bit and then go. If you click on position, you should be able to see the center point. So I just kind of try to match it up in the center as much as possible and stay fairly consistent with the keyframes. And even if you don't change the scale, I just always keyframe at the same time. And then I'm gonna go back to those crash zooms, and I'm kind of in the top left. So let's do a zoom up. You can see it'll zoom it up on me. And let's do a little bit of camera movement. I think that'll just like enhance it a little bit. So again, dragging on that camera movement preset, position, and let's go, we could do like 10 frames at a time. So I kind of just gonna position it the way whatever I'm looking, then go 10 frames. I'm going to the right a little bit. It doesn't have to be super aggressive for this one. It's just like those little bit extra elements that it's gonna help you like sell the effect just a little bit more. And with the shake combined, it'll look pretty good. So you can see there's still that shake, but it's also just like kind of following my eyes, and with the blur and everything, kind of just helps the viewer. And then let's go ahead and add another zoom up here. Which one do I throw first? I throw the left one first. Let's actually go ahead and go to the keyframes. And instead of zooming just up, let's change the position to the left just a little bit. So it's kind of like focused on this. And then let's go to camera movement, drag that on. That way it zooms up to me wanting to throw it. And you just got to be careful with the shake that you don't go too close to the boundaries, because if it's going to shake and you're like right at the edge, it might show some black area, stationary. So I'm going to keyframe both of those keys, scale and position. And then right when I go to like kind of like load it back up like I'm about to throw. With the camera movement, it's just important that you follow like the motion and stuff that people are actually doing. Zoom out a little bit too so I can zoom in when I throw it down. We'll keep it there for a second because the shake will hold it over. And then when I go throw it, right there. Maybe even hold the keyframes for a little bit longer because you want it to be like fast. Then we can go 120. And then I'm just going to reset both of these so it zooms out towards the end. And then lastly, let's do the right. It only makes sense. Let's make it a little bit more intense, maybe like 155. And then really just show that I'm over here. I think that's looking pretty good. And then if you control save that or control S, go back into Premiere and render it out, it's going to be the exact same thing. And then let's go ahead and play the raw footage and then the 3 different versions I did of me in my bedroom using these effects, just so you can see the kind of different outcomes of each different time I do it. It's not going to be the exact same, and I kind of want to add variation to it anyways. Again, the raw footage, me in my bedroom, just doing some stupid shit. So again, the effects are pretty simple to do. It just takes a little bit of time knowing how to stack effects, how to kind of get that workflow going. That's why I designed the pack, to save some time. Just be sure to add blurs, zooms, camera shakes, and just some effects that are going to take that and add the energy to those tripod shots or to those stationary kind of handheld shots. Anyways, if you made it all the way to the end, I really do appreciate you. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. It really helps me out. If you did want to snag the preset pack, it's a great time. It's going to be the cheapest it's ever going to be, and you're going to get lifetime updates. For this pack, I plan on adding a decent amount more to it and kind of just tweaking and taking feedback from what people say about it. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys on this one. Peace.